young. So there's a lot of things to learn from everybody here today. So I'm going to say this. Can we have the next what's it called? The next document. Yes, thank you so much. How many of us have heard about Muazu Africa? Muazu, oh, thank you so much. It means that we are doing a great work. When I go back, I'll have to give the team a raise. All right, cool. The next slide, please. The next documents. I sent 2 documents. So how am I going to start? Let me start this way. I'm quite discombobulated because I have a baby, so she threw me off balance this morning. When I started doing what I'm doing now, I didn't know that I would get to this point. The only thing I knew was I heard a voice saying, this is the way, walk ye needs. And honestly, it may sound as though it's another biblical story, but mine is not a biblical story. Let me tell you how. In 2020, I used to work in Abuja. I think some of you knew me from my Abuja days. I used to work in Abuja. I used to work with TVC News. And I was promoted within 2 years, from Lagos, I moved to Abuja. And then I was promoted from front desk to people's operations analyst to the Great Place to Work culture ambassador. So it was more like my career was moving so fast. Ladies and gentlemen, by myself, I came to Lagos in 2020, March. And I remember sending to my line manager, Ma, I want to resign. And she felt like that's the most senseless thing you can ever do in the peak of the pandemic, to resign. I resigned. When I resigned, I joined an international non-profit organization. They were trying to start out in Lagos, Nigeria, so I was invited to come work as a director of policy and partnerships. So that job came with an apartment in Lekki. He also came with a car, so I thought that I was a clock hit. So I already thought that I was a big girl. I was living in my big girl era. But ladies and gentlemen, 6 months down the line, I resigned. Yes. It felt like something was pursuing me. I'm from Ilesha anyway, so it felt like maybe Ilesha people were pursuing me. But it's okay. It's okay. What was more important to me was fulfillment, satisfaction, purpose. We've heard a lot about purpose this afternoon, and I'm sure that we will still hear more about purpose. But to be honest, what was pursuing me was a state of discontentment. I knew that there was more. But to be honest with you, I really didn't know how to scratch the surface. But guess what? I just knew that I had to listen. Now, I'm not listening to external voices for validation. So I think as ecosystem builders, you need to get rid of living for the validations of others who do not know where you're coming from and where you're going to. I used to say that my journey is like that of a wind. You do not know where it's coming from. You do not know where it's going, but you can hear the sound of the wind. That's who I am. 6 months down the line, I dropped off. Why did I drop off from a job that seems like, oh, it's an international job, you travel, you will liaise with government, you will liaise with presidents, but I had to drop off. Why did I drop off? I dropped off because we were doing an impactful work. It's a paradox. I dropped off because we were doing something very impactful. What was the impactful work? The impactful work was to ensure that every child in public schools are safeguarded. So it means that we needed to draft social protection policy, send it to the government, the ministries, the departments and agencies in charge of education to ensure that no child is left behind and every child that is going to a public school is safeguarded. There has to be a social protection policy in place. And so I said, if I have to work in an NGO space, if I have to impact this space, I need to start thinking about generating sustainable revenue. My organization leaders were not having it. They thought I was being lazy. I don't want to pursue the papers. Pursuing the papers here, we say pursuing papers means grants. I don't want to write the long list of application letters. But it was not so. It was me saying that there is more, that doing good does not have to be frustrating, and I do not have to lose my sanity on the heel of having to look for fund to aid my work. So I left. So I came back to my house. By the way, my father's house at Ikorodu. I came back to Ikorodu. I was in the house one day, and then I started to think, what next? I was just promoted. And Ego did not allow me send a message back to Mr. Isa. That, sir, please, I want to come back. As per how? Ego did not let me come back. And I knew that that's not my space. So what did I do? I started to think about why I was extremely frustrated in that role. And it all boiled down to one thing. Why do I have to always chase the funds to aid an impactful project? Profit does not always come in the way impact is. I mean, profit does not necessarily flow towards the direction of impact. So if you're just starting out in the impact space, please have this at the back of your mind. And I started to think, what can I do? How can I solve this problem of aid, of grants, of charity, of donations? Do I have to always beg for funds? And guess what? It was a good work. It means that if I beg you for a fund, you'll be able to see why I am begging you for that fund, and you would also be able to see where the fund that you gave me is going to. Because that fund is saving one child, taking that child back to school and safeguarding them. So it is more like a safety net for children, right? But is it every time I come to you, you will give me? Sometimes you say, okay, I see this you're coming there. I don't tell you. You will not even use your own mouth to tell me, because Nigerians, we like to do body language. You won't tell me with your own mouth that, please stop coming back here, stop, I have my own family to take care of. And that's why I left. In 2021 one morning, I was sweeping my father's house. Gen Zs, can you guys relate to sweeping your father's house? And I was using local Google, don't get me wrong. I was not using all those, I was using local Google, ballet. I was sweeping my father's house and I heard loud and clear. That's why I said my story is like a biblical story. And I don't force people to believe my story because it is my story. I was sweeping and I heard loud and clear. Go out, build businesses for social enterprises. So the frustrations you faced, you would not face it again, and they will also not face it again. And right there, I heard, I am going to give you an MBA opportunity. Go have your master's. I was sweeping, having my master's. I mean, I left everything I was doing. I have no money. I was just in my father's house. Lo and behold, the opportunity came to apply. I think someone sent me a link to this opportunity, apply. And that's why it's very good that you are in a community where you encourage yourself to grow. All right? And so this person sends me a DM, a WhatsApp, a link. I applied for this thing, and I applied. And guess what? I got a scholarship. I got a scholarship to study MBA, full scholarship, no payment and all of those. And by God's grace, with a distinction, I finished my MBA. Now, what am I saying? I would never have thought that me go back to school to take an MBA. And MBA is like a quasi-mathematics. I mean, for some of us that know, it's like we left mathematics in secondary school. Why are you doing mathematics again? And this one is not even small mathematics. It's like for mathematics. It's intense, you know. And then for some reasons, I went back. I did my MBA. I had my MBA, and I finished by God's grace. And I started building when no one was seeing me. I was in my father's house at Ikorodu. Please never forget that. And I'm so glad that Tunde Onokoya came from Ikorodu. So we Ikorodu guys. But anyway, yeah, from Ikorodu, it's amazing. And right there, I started reading. I started researching. There has to be something. I didn't just want to go out there to say, I want to now start something of my own. Because that's what we are seeing these days. It's good to start something of your own, but you must come up with depth. There must be substance to what you're doing. And so I started researching, I started studying, I started building. Up until 2022 that I heard a voice in my mind saying, it is time. March 8, 2022, we moved to Sheraton and we launched Muazu Africa. And we convened about 50-something persons. Now, I didn't have everything all figured out in my head. I just launched Muazu Africa. And right there and then, we had a purpose, but it was just disjointed. Because, missions will keep on evolving, but your vision stays clear. So what was the vision? The vision is simple. I used to say that my vision is that doing good does not have to be sustained by charity or donor funding, but it should be rewarded profitably through market-driven solutions. What does that even mean? Let's forget the English. It simply means that if you have something impactful and you want it sustained, you cannot but think about how to make it sustainable. When we say sustainability, we are talking about revenue generation. So you've got to think money as well. As you're thinking impact, you must think money. The mistake here is a lot of social impact leaders think when they put money, when they place money side by side with impacts, it feels like it's an aberration. It is not an aberration. It's what you should even be thinking of. Why? Aid is shrinking. Those who will give the aid are pulling back. Funders are increasingly selective of where their funds are going to. So if you're not quick to restructure, if you're not quick to upgrade your business, your social impacts, your projects, you may fall off. Meanwhile, your impact is a good one. Don't get me wrong. So, I'll be talking about the new inclusive economy, aid to sustainable revenue. I've told you my backstory and what led me to Muazu Africa, what led me to starting Muazu Africa. Next slide. Now, in 2023, I took all my earnings that year and I traveled to East Africa. I went to a number of countries within Eastern Africa. But one country that still stays with me very well is Rwanda. I love Rwandans a lot. And not just because, I really don't know why I love Rwandans. To be honest with you, I don't know. But maybe it's the story of the Nyamirambo women. You see, 18 women had almost nothing. They all came together to start something because they were tired of relying on people to help them move the needle. So they came together and decided to create a self-sustaining model. Self-sustaining. Now, take next slide. Next slide. So these people, these women, no, take it back, please. Previous slide. Now these people, there was no aid, money wasn't coming for them, but they were tired of sitting down, and so they decided that, you know what, let's do something. And they all came together to form a cooperative, all right? And that cooperative did one thing. Next slide. Okay, you know what, I think I just have to stop using the slides because it's pulling me back, and I do not want it. I don't want distractions. Just leave it here. Thank you, just hang in here, thank you. So they came together and decided that, you know what, we cannot be relying on aid. We have to create something self-sustaining. This conversation I'm having with everybody may seem like a very boring conversation, but if you listen to me very well, you'll be able to take one or two things if you actively work in the social impact space. And then these women, we call them the Nyamirambo Women, Nyamirambo Women Center, also known as the Umutima Cooperative Society. They all came together and said, the 18 of us, let's do something self-sustaining, that we will not have to die on the heels of waiting for funds and donors to come and give us. Now, they started something and it was market-driven, but guess what? It was still at the core of their mission. The core of their mission is simple, that they would train women in vocational skills. Women who do not even have the financial wherewithal to get the training, they would train them, right? And whatever money they get, they'll be able to repay the loans that they have collected, maybe to sustain their families, or maybe to keep their households. That's when this Nyamirambo Women Center and the Umutima Cooperative Society was born. Now listen, together, these women, these 18 women who do not even have formal education, they created 200 direct and indirect jobs. They have trained more than 6,000 women. And they have hosted at least 3,600 tourists annually. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? So, if you work in the social impact ecosystem, you cannot but think about how to be self-sustaining. Next slide. You cannot but think about how to be self-sustaining. You must think about money first. Because even when you need to do good, you need money. If you want to go for evangelism, you will still need money to print the tracts. So when you talk about money, everyone goes silent. But it's a conversation that must be had. Now, typical example, I introduce you all to the new inclusive economy, and that's the social and solidarity economy. This is the economy, this is the place where I work in. It's the sector where I thrive in. Because social and solidarity economy, in one word, they are organizations that do good, quote and unquote. So organizations that do good, they have a name. And in that name is called institutional units. And they are cooperatives, mutual societies, NGOs, social enterprises. Thank you, someone said social enterprises. Social enterprises, cooperatives, foundations, even family offices. Now, listen, guys, if you work in the social impact space, you must understand what goes on within this ecosystem as a social impact leader. Now, listen, there are 5 economic activities that characterizes the SSE. Now, let's say SSEOs, that is Social and Solidarity Economy Organizations. There are 5 economic activities. And these 5 economic activities are known within the United Nations and within the African Union. I'm sure that a number of you that are social impact leaders, I don't think you want to stay local. I think that we want to go global, right? So for next year, we already have, I am teaching. I mean, this is not a talk, what was it called? It's a teaching session. So I don't mind if you can write and all of those things, please, but don't just distract. Now, first thing first, first economic activity, democratic governance. The second is autonomy. If you take it back to the story of the Rwanda Women's Center and the Umutima Cooperative Society, you would realize that democratic governance plus autonomy is visible where communities are organizing themselves, not waiting for the government or private sector to bring the funds to them. So you must understand the concept of self-organizing as a social impact leader. Do you understand? Because guess what? Poverty cannot wait. The third economic activity you would realize within the ecosystem is primacy of social environmental purposes. Forget Nigerians are doing a lot of impact washing. And there's a lot of greenwashing. I empower 5,000 people. I went to 10,000. Please drop the numbers. Give us the real impact. Bring the data, let's see it. In God I trust. Every other person, bring your data. Listen and listen very well. This is not a conversation where we laugh and gist. It is actually a teaching session. And please, listen to me as an authority, because to be honest with you, I think I am an authority. Because it's not based to be nominated for Young Person of the Year. But anyway, joking aside. Now, primacy of social and environmental purposes. If you work in the social impact space, you must tie your mission to something. You must tie your mission to something. There has to be a primacy of environmental and social. Example, for every project you implement, there is something we call PES. PES means positive externalities on society. I'm a teacher, sorry. If I'm running too fast, just bring me back. PES means what? Positive externalities on the society. Now, what does PES mean? PES means that whatever projects that you, the man in the filler, you want to implement has an underlying implication in the environment. Example, I am going to Makoko, and what I want to do, I don't even like to use Makoko. I feel like Makoko has been overused, but anyway, I I am going to Makoko and I want to give everybody food. This is food that has already been prepared and it is served in a plastic plate. I am going somewhere. We're having a system thinking conversation here, system change level conversation. I want to go to Makoko now, and I bring this food, plate of jollof rice, in a plastic bowl that I'm serving everybody. Please tell me, how would they discard the bowl? What? That's one. Another person? What? Bonit two. By the roadside three. I am not hearing recycle. Are we getting it? System level conversation. I am not hearing recycle. I am hearing by the roadside. Inside that same river they are fishing. Now you see that you want to do good. You brought food to them. Well, guess what? You've done more harm to the environment. That's system level conversation, system level thinking. You want to do good, but the implication of your good on the society is zero. If we want to talk about carbon credits, footprints, the ESG scores, you've just done zero. You've just committed an environmental blunder. But in your mind, Father, I thank you for the good you've made me do today. But guess what? The ocean will suffer for it. The beings under the ocean, the fishes, they will suffer for it. And guess what? We will all suffer for it. Because when the rise in sea level happens, it will even start from before mainland bridge and all of us that are living within the environs. System level thinking. You've got to think about the externalities of your work on the society. In 2023, when we started our policy engagement at Muazu Africa, we started at Ikoyi, and I told my team, because social procurement is very important, I said, I need you to source vendors who don't use plastics to serve, who use papers that can be recycled. ED, this is your standard. ED, this is your standard. They call me ED. ED means executive director. ED, this your standard is too high. Where are we going to get vendors? No, road. We found vendors. And we told them, all your packages should come in these specifics because of the environment. Some of them thought we were doing too much. But we not so much. We are changing systems. And everything they bought were paper bags. Guess what? When we were done, there was somewhere about paper bag that says that once you return your paper bag, you will get X naira. Once you give us your paper bags, when you return your paper bags, you get, is it 500 naira airtime? As subtle as that is. And this is why I say that I think every social impact leader should go get a course in behavioral insight, in behavioral sciences. You need to understand why people behave the way they do and how we design systems for people. Because if you put this to a behavioral analyst, they will say what we did at Muazu Africa is called nudge. You're nudging people to think in this way. Now, when you're having events, people say, are you guys giving us paper bags? And what is the token that comes with it? What are the incentives that come with it? So there has to be a primacy of social and environmental purposes. And do not cook up one ESG score and tell us that your ESG carbon credit, when you don't even have an ESG disclosure. Because there's a lot of brainwashing happening. There's a lot of impact washing. Impact is not just opening a website though, and having carousels playing like this and showing little children from different communities smiling. And then you wearing your t-shirts with the foundation. That's not impact. The fourth economic activity within this ecosystem is reinvestment of profits. That's why they say that it is very difficult to find investors who was okay, let me crack you up. I was in Kigali, Marriott precisely, around 12 a.m. I was meeting with two investors, one from Holland, one from Netherlands, and the other person from Uganda. I think I've shared this story multiple times. I was seated at the middle. Sorry, I'm dramatic. I was seated at the middle. The both of them were here at Marriott Hotel Kigali. And they asked me, what do you do? I told them. I read everything. This is what we'll do, this is what we'll do. And then the next thing they said is, this is good, but we can't fund it. And I said, why? They said, because you're just like a foundation, every other foundation. There is no business here. And what you're asking for is too small. Ladies and gentlemen, I took my airline and went home. 4 days after, I was on a flight returning to Lagos. And the next person I sat down with was Mr. Ike Eze. And I don't know if you know Mr. Ike Eze in the VC space, Nigeria's VC space. Yeah. I sat beside, I had to mention his name because I know some of you want to verify, so it's not true I'm doing. Mr. Ike Eze told me, this is such a good project. I can actually invest in it, but I need you to up your numbers. 2 kinds of investors. One person believing in the vision of this work, and the other person not knowing how they will fund this activity. So I used to say that do not die on the cross of chasing investors. Let them be. What you need right now at this stage, it's not even investment. What you need is your own earned revenue strategy. Have your own earned revenue strategies and understand your go-to-market. Every social impact project must have a go-to-market. I know you don't like to hear it because that's why I let corporates now, which is go-to-market when I'm not having a startup. But you've got to think of impact as a business person. Do you understand? So, and that's why it's difficult for investors to put their monies in social impact organizations, social impact startups. Why? Because the investment don't come in time. The investment take time. And this is why we say that rather than seek investment from everyday investors, why don't we seek catalytic capital? Catalytic capital means patient capital. Investors that can give you money and say, take your time. I know this can take 5 to 10 years. Let it yield. And this is why we have impact investors. All right? So rather than seek commercial investors, start thinking about impact investors. Those are the ones that are willing and able to take the concessionary risk. All right? Now, the last economic activity within the ecosystem is voluntary membership. We can see that the creation of the Umutima Cooperative Society and the 18 women who started the Amirambo Women's Society, they came together on their free will. And a number of social impact projects that we're seeing in Lagos, in Nigeria today as it is because some group of people said, let's do this thing, let's solve it. Mind you, CSR, I'm not talking to you if you're doing CSR. I'm strictly facing social impact projects, those that are breathing and living in that space. CSR can be somebody's KPI, and they're just trying, let's do it to get a score. So if you're doing CSR, I'm not talking to you. Please, we have beef. Yeah, we have beef. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Woman in tech. So what's the big problem? What's the big problem? I've said a lot of things that are practical, and I've said a lot of things that a lot of us are experiencing. What then is, thank you. What then is the big problem? The big problem here is the global conversation around Africa is dominated by 3 things. 1, GDP conversations. 2, commodity conversation. 3, aid conversations. I like to say that GDP are figures that mask deep inequality. Commodities are, they are subjects, they're price volatility that is subject to a nation's bust and boom cycles. So we cannot depend on what our commodity is selling. The next is aid. Aid is shrinking. Funders are pulling back. And the funds that are left are becoming increasingly selective. So these are the conversations around Africa. These are the conversations that have dominated Africa for so long. Now, I said that aid is shrinking and funders are pulling back. Aid cuts. Now, the next thing here is depend on external aid or generate sustainable revenue pathways. Due to the ongoing aid cuts, I know someone who was affected by the USAID cuts. One day, anybody can wake up and say that going forward, if you're an NGO, if you're a foundation, if you're a cooperative, do not exist anymore. And it can be law bound. Do we all agree? Yeah. Because what will happen, why will Donald Trump wake up one morning and cut off all the USAID? And guess what? A number of projects are stopped there. If you are running a social impact organization, you must rethink aid. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear donor funding. I don't want to hear it. You've got to think about sustainable revenue pathways. You've got to be self-sustaining. Next slide. Now, this is how aid flows from ODAs. ODAs are official development assistance. They flow from official government agencies and multilateral institutions of donor agencies or donor countries to developing countries and territories. This is how aid flows. Next slide. Because we have to run. Next slide. Now, take it back. Previous. Good. Cuts in official development assistance. Now, if you want to see the latest projection, you go to the OECD, right? Now, the OECD projects a 9 to 17% drop in ODA in 2025. We've already started seeing it, Abby? Yeah. The projected decline is driven by announcing cut in 4 major providers. That's France, Germany, UK, and US. Now, ODA in 2027 is projected to fall back to the pandemic levels. This is just 2027, in 2 years. It's going to fall even more, it's going to fall more. So we're going back to the days of the pandemic. Some of you may say, God forbid, but it is what it is. Coordinated action is critical to avoid major impacts on the countries and people most in need. Next slide. So these are the big 4. Germany, about 4.8 billion euros cut off. France, $1 billion cut off. UK, about $900 million reduced in development aid. Next slide. United States, frozen or cut many USAID programs. Now I bring you back to this place. The social and solidarity economy. This is where many of us function as social impact leaders. I've told you that these are the 5 economic activities. And for Africa and for Nigeria in particular, this is our greatest opportunity to move Africa from the margin to the center of global conversations. Why are we having conversations? To be honest with you, I decided not to read about why Donald Trump is taking a special interest in Nigeria. But if you look beyond all of these conversations happening between USA and Nigeria, some people are praying that, let them people come and bomb my area. I was making my hair the other day, and she just said, Auntie, you just said Trump will come. I said, Trump is coming. He said, make Trump come, bomb my area, bomb and finish. They know people good. These are the conversations that we're having. But if you look at it very closely, why now? Why are you interested in a country that you cut off their aid? I'm looking at you. Okay. I need you to think about system level, system change. There is something about this country, Nigeria. We may not even be seeing it, but guess what? Those at the highest level, they are currently on the hot seat right now. They are currently on the hot seat right now. Next slide. And this is why I said, I'm not here to pitch Muazu Africa. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just here to talk about this whole movement. So you can already tell my story. My story came from a place of frustration. Why do I have to do good and still wait for you to give me money to go and impact people? People whose lives are almost nearly, they're not even up to 100%. And yet, because of donor funding, I'm not able to get that project, that impact, that idea just dies. So, if you're here today and you run a social impact project, in fact, I need us to move from having a project to having a product. I need you to productivize your idea. Productivize your projects, because that's the fastest way to move the needle. So if you're not thinking about products, you may fall off quickly. Learn to productivize your projects. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Product here is not, I need developer, I need engineer. Is it not money that I used to build products? Because people now, you can't really say, you say this thing, but you're contradicting yourself. So what I'm saying here is this. Product is something that has your intellectual property, something that you can buy and sell, something that you can export and import, because guess what? You've got to play at the global trade level. So as much as you're thinking projects, impact projects, as much as you're thinking programs, you must think about products. And as you're thinking about products, you must think about playing on the global space. So how are you thinking about exporting and importing? You don't necessarily have to export goods. You can export what you have here in form of products. Because the world, the AFCFTA, the largest free trade area in the world today, and yet Nigeria is playing God there. And you're a Nigerian. And you have something that the world needs. Come on. This is not, I don't take Muazu Africa lightly. It's not a project. Muazu Africa is an institution, it's a mission. Mission keeps evolving, but we have one vision. And the vision is this: your doing good should not die on the cross of waiting for donor. You must become a social enterprise. You must leave the talk of NGO, and become self-sustaining. When do you want to have your own financial freedom? When do you want to buy your own car? When do you want to build your own houses? Are you not thinking of retirement? Because now I'm thinking of retirement. And if this is the pathway that you have chosen, then you've got to think about how to up what you have chosen to become globally competitive. Next slide. Next one. Ladies and gentlemen, I knew that I was not going to have a conversations full of wit and humor. I was going to have a conversation where everybody would just be quiet and looking at me. So I envisaged this already happening. So it's okay, I can take it all in. Policy simplified. This is very short, so don't be what's it called? Don't be tired. In 2023, I was on my way to Akinima. I don't know who's from Akinima here. Akinima community of Hawada West local government area in Rivers State. Who's from Rivers? And you know I've heard about Hawada West. Okay, thank you. I was on the road to Akinima community. I was on the road to go and do good. I was going to do good. Nobody sent me. This is an oil-rich region in Nigeria. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You would think that being resource-rich means opportunity-rich. But the road to Akinima was split into half by flood waters. I have the pictures if you want to confirm that. It was split into half by flood waters. Schools were cut off. Markets did not open. Hospitals were inaccessible, and people were waiting for the waters to recede before they could resume their normal economic activities. For a state that is oil-rich in Nigeria, for a state that contributes to Nigeria's national growth and development, but yet it drowns when the rain comes. Isn't that a paradox that we all face as Nigerians? Isn't that a paradox that we all face as Nigerians? And because of this, we said, enough is enough. We need to start thinking about policies. Your impactful project must translate to policies. Enough of us waiting for government to... In fact, I know that I don't have people in this room who wait for things to happen to them. And so we started. Next slide. And so I now decided to ask myself a question. Are we policies in Nigeria that has failed? Please answer me, it's not a rhetorical question. Are there policies in Nigeria that has failed? Can anybody tell me just one policy that has failed?
934.
934? Please tell me what is 934.
The education policy.
Right.
Of 9 years first, then 3 years, then
And 4 years for university.
I think in the adoption, even people don't know about it, we still see education from the
6634 here.
point of view. So I don't know what failed in it, but then...
Amazing account. Another person who is not government inclined. Any policy that has failed, let me give you one. Or let me give you two. To be kind enough, one for me and one on behalf of my daughter. One policy that has failed, the Okada ban in Lagos. Another policy that has failed, next slide, is this, ladies and gentlemen. The Nigeria's cashless policy and naira redesign of 2023. Well, where were you? Can you tell me where you were during this time? Some of us were in universities. Some of us were working and the cash crunch was a choke on our neck. And some of us lost our loved ones because we were not able to access cash. Because some hospitals will say cash first, we don't collect transfer. A lot of people died on this cross. Policies that has failed. I hope you already get where I am going to. Can you see the roadmap? This Nigeria's cashless policy and naira redesign ahead of a woman who lost a baby and lost her life because her husband was not able to get the funds in need from the bank because of the queue in the bank. One would ask me, during this time, I knew that I was on Twitter at this time. We were seeing our leaders burying their money in the ground. We were seeing them burn the naira, the old notes. Please, I want to still using the old notes here today. Yes. When I think about these things, I get very emotional. I get emotional because the way we think about impacts is wrong. And the way we think about our citizens, those that are the front, are at the base of the pyramid, is also wrong. This policy, it was an ongoing effort by the CBN to redesign the naira and to also reduce, don't worry, just relax. This conversation is quite necessary. Don't worry, I'm not taking your time. To reduce cash transfer. Next slide. But you see, Nigeria is a cash-based economy. And only about 38% of adults have bank accounts. Next slide. Look at the impact of Nigeria's 2023 currency redesign. Before the currency redesign, this was the cash in circulation at 100%. This was the cash crunch. The cash that was locked up was about 70 trillion naira. In the first quarter of 2023, during the introduction of the cash crunch, we lost about 1 trillion. No, was it 1 trillion? We lost about 20 trillion naira. Next slide. For impact leaders, I need you to think about policies from different perspectives. Millions of Nigerians were pushed into hardships, with informal and rural economies hit hardest. Next slide. Do you know, most policies don't fail because they were well designed. They fail because they understand how humans behave. You want to introduce USSD to me that I don't even know how to press star on my phone. My money, you are telling me that I have to go to the bank. It is well. Next slide. When you ask me what policy is, this is my simplest definition. It is a hypothesis about human behavior. Next slide. This is why I said every social impact leader must have a course in behavioral insight. Behavioral insight are how people really make decisions and design around that. And for you who is designing programs and projects, you must have this at the back of your mind. Those that you are implementing for, those that you are intervening for, what is the overall behavior? What is the overall design? What's the design thinking like? Next slide. So good. These are behavioral tools. I only selected 3: nudge, default, and social proof. Small design tweak that helps people make better decisions. I told you, we want to implement a project. You are taking plastic to Makoko. Please, why would they discard it? These people have not been taught how to recycle. But what will nudge tell you? Not to tell you, rather than give plastic, let's give you paper bags that can be recycled. That's nudge. Defaults. I don't know if you've heard the song. I'm a rich Nigerian, a proud Nigerian, a something Nigerian. I live by the citizens called national orientation. Good. What we're doing is defaults. Now we have social proof. Showcasing models. Example, I was conferred the honorary one young person of the year, something not TFE, but honorary EIE. Enough is enough. And then they showcase me everywhere. Now I'm the young model. What that has done is social proof. Ensuring that you can also be that person. So these are behavioral insight tools. Next slide, please. Next slide, next slide. So, no, take it back. Take it back. Using the redesign, the NERD redesign, policy, you can see that if we were going to fix that NERD problem, again, using a behavioral tool like nudge, we would have offered micro incentives of 15 naira cash back per transfer. How many people will tell me that, I was sitting down, my brother told me, Tolu, go to the nearest Fidelity Bank and go and collect something for poultry. We had that gist about 2 weeks ago. Oh, now they will give you 70,000 naira. My sister, I went to the bank. And when I went to the bank, I saw the queue. So imagine if we offer a micro incentive of 15 naira per transfer. Are we going to have the issue that we had during the redesign? No. Now, can we partner with transport unions, NURTW, and local markets to pilot mobile payments? How about displaying simple infographic that says tap, send, done? That's a behavioral fix using nudge as a tool. Next slide. The next is defaults. Next slide. Okay. Next slide. Good. The next is defaults. Take it back, please. Before enforcing cash withdrawal limits, you can make digital options default ready. Now, when cashless becomes the easier route, people don't have to be convinced because they just go with the flow. Now, everybody knows that I have a citizen's code. My citizen's code is to help one another. Why? Because we keep hearing it every time. There's a time that I will be watching Annual, the masquerade of Annual on African Magic, and I'm hearing money point, money point, money point. To the point that I kept singing it from my head. And anyway, I go to the first thing is, do you have money points? That is default. It's a behavioral tool. Next slide. Social proof. You can spotlight market women and POS agents in local communities that are thriving using mobile payments so you don't have to go to the bank. I need you to think about these things in your design of policy. Next slide. This design of programs, projects. See, the failure of the NERD redesign was this: behavioral blindness. Next slide. Next slide. Case studies, let's keep going forward. No case studies, no case studies, no case studies. I talked about the Ghana's education language policy, then the IMEC chair, the Ochaya's case. Now, what did we learn about how people really behave and how policy can design for that? Particularly because I want you to start thinking beyond projects. I want you to start thinking beyond programs, to thinking about policies, about revenue, and about products. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that beyond all of these talks that we have had today, and this one that I'm having with you now, the decision is still here, it's still in your hands. But I need you to know that you can restore your own agency. And agency is the freedom that you have to decide your own future. So with your impact projects, some of you that are sitting on CSR projects, some of you that have social impact projects or brainchild initiatives, I need you to think about behavioral insights as a wedge, an advantage. Thank you so much for listening to me.